Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Unit 2 review, which is all about research methods. So the types of research methods are a survey, a case study, and naturalistic observation. A survey is used when finding data from a large group of people, and an example of this would be an online quiz or interview. The strengths of a survey is that it gets data from a large population, but a weakness is that it gets very little depth in the information. A case study is used when finding data from one person or a small group of people. An example of this would be a researcher doing research on Phineas Gage or observing the development of PTSD in a veteran or something similar. The strengths of a case study is that it's very in depth research, but the weakness is that it can't discern general truth, and what might be the results for one person might not be the results for the general population. And last but not least is naturalistic observation, which is used when finding data and behavior without altering the environment. An example would be a researcher studying a monkey's behavior in the jungle. A strength of this is that it describes the behavior, but a weakness is that it doesn't explain the behavior. Next is types of bias. The first type is hindsight bias, and that's when something happens and we think we could have predicted it or I would have known that. An example of this would be when a team wins the Super Bowl and people say they knew it was going to be them all along, even though they didn't know that. And confirmation bias, which is looking for information that supports one's existing beliefs. An example of this would be reading or watching news that fits your beliefs. Next is the scientific method. So, a theory is a strong hunch or idea. A hypothesis is a testable prediction, and an example of this would be if plants get water, they will grow faster. Operational definition is a measurable definition of a concept, such as deciding that you're going to define happiness by the amount of smiles. During an experiment, it's best to do replication, which is repeating the same study to see if the results change. And another type of experiment is the double blind procedure, and that's when both the participants and the workers are blind to who receives the placebo or treatment. So if you were doing an experiment to see if a pill helps sleep, you would give half the participants the actual treatment and half the participants a placebo, but no one would know who got the actual treatment and who didn't. This is to ensure that the results are more accurate. Ethics in research. It's important that your experiment is ethical for the participant's safety. So, informed consent is the participant is informed of the contents of the experiment beforehand. Protection from harm is when conductors of the experiment must protect the participant from distress or physical harm during the experiment. Confidentiality is when the conductor of the experiment keeps participants' private information disclosed. And debriefing is when, after the experiment, conductors tell the participants all about the experiment and everything they need to know. Variables. There's an independent and a dependent variable. The independent variable is the factor that is manipulated in the experiment, and the dependent variable is the variable being measured. So back to the sleeping pill experiment, the independent variable in that experiment would be the sleeping pill, and the dependent variable would be the amount of sleep that the participants are getting. Graphing. On a graph, the mean is the average of all of the data. The mode is the most frequently occurring piece of data, and the median is the middle value of all the data. So on this graph, when you add up all these values and divide them by the amount of values there, you would get 3. And the mode would be 4 because it has the most values. And the median would be 3 because it's the middle value possible. That's all for Unit 2. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more, and I will get the Unit 3 video out soon. Thank you.